Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk, and look at this sad garage. Look at the state of this garage. Well, the cool thing about this garage is if you look up here, it's EU1, so I have invaded the EU server, my friends. Why? I don't know. It's not like I'm not busy enough with DCS, streamcasting, making videos, streaming World of Tanks and DCS now. So I don't know. I don't know. It's probably not the smartest thing to do, but there is an ulterior motive, and because I like to talk to you guys about the plans for the channel and what I'm doing and why I do things, the industry behind the industry, I'm trying to get established on EU so I can start advertising on EU so that I am a presence there as well. So we'll see how it goes. It's early days, but what I want to do with this video is talk a little bit to the new player. Now let's just back up and caveat this. Obviously, I'm not a new player. I've been around 10 years, so a lot of things I'm able to understand and do and get through as a new player on a new account, it's going to go faster for me. I'm going to understand it a lot better. However, there's a lot of new stuff going on, and there's a lot of improvements. The new player experience is 10,000 times better than it was. It's even better than about 2 years ago. I did the same thing on the NA server. I've got another side account over there. So I just wanted to talk about this one a little bit for you new players and discuss a couple of things you're going to want to do, because I had to strategize through this and made a couple of mistakes. Even as much as I know about the game, I made a couple of mistakes along the way. So you can see that we're just going to take a look at where I am right now. I have 30 battles total. All right. I suspect I'll be 55%. I'm going to roll free to play for the most part. You'll see I've got some gold. We'll talk about that in a minute, where that came from. But for the most part, free to play, try to gather as much free premium time and things as I can. I did not start with a invite code. I highly recommend that. That will at least get you usually a tier 5 premium. I went a little harder level effort on that by not doing that, but I do highly recommend that. Look for invite codes from CCs. I know on the NA server that we have invite codes. Mine happens to be Guido Grind if you want to start one on the NA server. On the EU, I'm not sure if the CCs have it. If anybody knows of invite codes, go ahead and chuck them down there in the comments. That would be very helpful for anyone who wants to try this, especially over in the EU. So the point here is I'm only 30 fights into it, 30 battles, and I've already got the free tier 6, which I chose the 3485. I also have a rental, which is part of what you get through that program, of a T3485M, which happens to be, in my opinion, the best tier 6 premium medium. So that's pretty cool. The German line I'm working on, I'm up to tier 4 in the Panzer 3J Alps J, Panzer 3J Alps J3, yes, something like that. Which is actually, despite what I thought when I first started playing it, once kitted out and with the Top Gun, a pretty strong tank. Other things you'll get as you go along, you're going to get some personal reserves, which you get to by going up here. They're kind of cheesy. They're little, plus 75, plus 15, plus 10, but they're better than nothing. It gets you the idea of personal reserves, and I've got a good little group of them that I can run. Remember that platooning is a big deal. Some of this is going to be stream of consciousness, so just stick with me. Platooning is a big deal for a new player because you get that plus 15 experience and credits. I highly recommend, if you have a buddy, to platoon with, or grab somebody if you can. Now remember, dynamic platoons that you start in game, where you invite somebody to a platoon, they'll work for your missions, but they're not going to work for getting the percentage. So platooning with a buddy is a good idea to get a little bit of extra credits, because you're going to struggle with credits a little bit, and you're going to struggle with experience a little bit as well. So at 30 battles, I have a T3485. You can pick any 6. We're going to talk about why I chose this in a minute, strategizing my moves through the tech tree. I'm at tier 4 on another line, and I've free experienced a little bit through another line. So let's jump into that right now. My plan was to do a German grind, a Russian grind, and an American grind. My advice to you is one of those 3 should be your primary. I would have said probably a year ago to go US or Russian. I think a lot of people are yelling Russian right now from the crowd. I think the German tanks, based on all the buffs that they've had recently, are now a player. And if you just like German tanks, it's not as bad an idea as it was in the past. But so I'll throw that out there. I happen to like German tanks, so that's what I'm doing. I'm also running the Russian line. All right, so strategy. What I did is I started on the German line, and I went through the Panzer IIIe, and now I have the Panzer IIIJ, and that did not take very much. I don't know if those missions are still going to show up here. Probably not. No, I wish I'd have done the video before they went away. In this missions tab, you're going to go through the boot camp, which is 5, I think, battles to give you general ideas. And then there's going to be a series of missions. So grind through those series of missions. You have to play a number of battles, use consumables, load yourself up with something other than just AP. Really easy things. Just pay attention to what they are. Make sure you set up your tank to do so, and then do those missions. And when you get done with that, that's where you get the coin to get your free tier 6. And that's how I got the 3485. You're also going to get those personal reserves. You're going to get 3 days of premium time. And then there's another day of premium time tacked on top of those missions as well. So as you can see, I've got 4 days. That's about to trip because I started yesterday about this time as I'm doing this video. So it'll knock down to 3. What that means is if you set this up for a long weekend, you're going to be able to play a long weekend with premium time and get a general idea of what's going on with this game. You're going to end up with a tier 6. And in 30 battles, you're going to be really kind of digging your heels into, or digging your fingernails into this game and getting a good idea of what's going on with this thing. All right, so back to strategizing. For me, because I'm a more experienced player and I felt I could handle 2 or 3 lines, I'm going to do so. My recommendation is maybe 1 or 2 nationalities, 1 or 2 lines for you. So I'm going through the 3J. Now, pay attention as you're looking at what are now the newly streamlined tech tree lines, where they split off and how many tanks you can get to from that tank. Now, I screwed up a little bit, one of my screw-ups. The other one had to do with gold. At the 3J, I unlocked with experience. I played it enough to unlock one of these 2 tanks, the 4H and the 3001. And I don't know why I did this, but in the heat of battle, I picked the Panzer 4H. I should have picked the 3001 because it actually splits into 3 lines. You can see as it splits down here into 3 lines, a heavy and 2 medium lines, which are all very good. The good news is you continue to play your 3J, and for another 13,000 experience, which is not too bad, you can get into that one too. The point here being, pick lines that split off into multiple lines. That's my idea to you. Now, for example, on the German line, to get to the lights, you really have to go back to the 2J and play the 2G. Another part of strategizing this is you will get free experience, which is right up here in the top right. Free experience can be used to unlock things without bothering to play it. And I really would not play a whole lot of tier 2 tanks. I would get to tier 3 or 4, even as a new player. And if you felt like you weren't able to handle the higher tiers, stay around 3 or 4. I would stay away from 1 and 2. They're going to give you a bunch of tier 1 tanks down here. There is almost no reason other than for your first line or 2 to play any of these things. There just really isn't. In my opinion, it's a waste of time. It's not going to show you anything about the game. If you just like the tank, go crazy. And that's another caveat for this whole spiel. If you just want to do something because you want to and it's a game, feel free. It's, we're all gamers. We want to have fun with the game. We don't want to turn it into a job or anything like me. But anyway, that's always out there. Whatever I say, that is always out there. Do what you want. But I'm just going to give my recommendations on that. So I would ignore tier 1s. All right, so pick one that splits off. For me, it's going to be this line of Germans where I get to all these different tanks right here. If you like TDs, you're going to have to do the split off thing and get into TDs. I'm going to ignore TDs for the moment with this account, although you're going to want to get some to do the missions, especially for the personal missions that you can do to get the special reward tanks. But we'll get to that a little while later. All right. For the Russians, my plan was to just grab the 3485 at tier 6, and then I can push through here and I can get to all these really good Russian mediums. I almost took the T150. The reason I took the 3485 is because Wargaming is going to give me a rental of a 3485M, and that works for crew training to get some more crews going on. And the one thing you're going to really struggle with early in this game is not getting experience to get more tanks. It's not going to be getting really getting credits for more tanks, although that will be a grind. It's going to be getting enough crews that don't suck, especially when you get into the higher 7 or 8 tiers and you're free to play and you're trying to move crews up without gold. that's going to be the struggle. So any way you can grab some more experienced crew members and get them trained, I would do so. The bummer with the 3485 is that it came with a crew, which was awesome, 100% crew. Unfortunately, they're trained for the 3485, so at some point I'm going to have to retrain them. So I'll either have to spend gold or accept the loss on experience when you retrain them. We'll see. Let me just touch on the gold. The reason I have that much is you will get 500 gold from the missions that get you, through the initial training of the game. They'll give you 500 gold, which is pretty nice. I spent some. That's where I made a second mistake. I'll talk about that in a second. And then one of my subscribers, Pilgrim, thank you very much, sent me a gift of 1,000 gold from there. All right. So, gifts of gold, invite codes, just codes in general. Lots of ways to get a little bit of gold here and there. You can play. You can do some tournaments. That'll get you a little bit of gold. There are missions and events that get you gold. It's just, you're going to have to pay attention to get that. EU, by the way, does have a tank rewards. It's tankrewards.eu instead of .com. And it's the same exact thing. Just get your name synced up with it there, and you can get some goodies along the way. It's late in October. I'm not going to be able to finish it on the EU side this time, unfortunately. Also, for you vets in the US and Canada, the ID Me thing doesn't count over in EU, so you're going to be with the rest of us peasants over there attempting to grind it out the real way. So it's much harder deal without that. All right, the last part of my strategery is on the American line, at least up till about tier 4 or 5, I'm going to use free experience to grind through these. So for example, if I'm on the Stewart and I click on this, I don't want to buy it. I click on this thing, not a good example. Let's go over to this guy. Also not a good example. Why is it not letting me? I guess I don't have enough. Okay. I can do it without it showing you I can do it. I only have 3,498 free experience. If I had over 5,000, I could go ahead and unlock that, and that would get me able to unlock the Chaffee. All right, so this is what you're going to do if you want to move through lines early on where Guido said don't play tier 2 or 1. Let's find a tier. Here we go. So the Otsu. To get to the Ha-Go, I've got to unlock this with free experience. I'd click on that. Then I don't even have to buy it. Don't buy it. Then that will unlock the Ha-Go for 270 free experience. You can unlock the Ha-Go, and then you can go through the rest of these. And up to tier 3 or 4, you can blaze through things with not very much free experience. All right, break. I can already see people freaking out. Yes, if you use a bunch of this free experience, which is hard to come by, to unlock a bunch of low tier stuff just to get ready to move through those lines, you're going to pay a slight price when you're doing things like trying to unlock modules later on in higher tier tanks, because you need as much of this as possible. Like I said, I'm splitting into 3 lines. I recommend 1 or 2 if you're brand new and saving your free experience. But if you want to start to branch off, remember, you don't actually have to play these tier 1, 2, and 3 tanks, and you can fairly easily get to tier 3 or 4. See, this tier 3 is only 1,680. Also, too, and in addition to, you're going to get a considerable amount of free experience along with missions and things. Always remember to go over into the missions tab, especially if you're free to play or new player, and look at what all these missions are and how you get them done, and try to aim at those. You will be very limited, unfortunately, because a lot of the missions have things like use a heavy tank, use a TD, use a whatever, and you may only have a few different kinds of tanks in your garage. Speaking of the garage and slots, I have 2 open. You're going to have, I think, 1 or 2 open when you start. I have sold a couple of the tier 1s. Tier 1s are always free. You can always replace them. But if you sell them for nothing, by the way, you don't get anything out of it. If you sell them, i.e. get rid of them, then you're going to have an empty slot. Remember that the crew is going to be put in your barracks, and your barracks only has so many slots as well. Looks like we have 16 to start with. I've cleared mine out. There's nobody in there. Don't feel bad about dismissing these guys. So I'll show you what I mean. You go sell, you click on that. See how you get nothing, and then send to barracks. Actually, you could do this and dismiss the guys right off the bat. I'll just put a 0 on that, and we'll just get rid of him and the crew. It is 100% crew, but if you're going to use it in another tank, you're going to have to use gold to keep the 100% qualification, and that's probably not very cost effective for a free to play. What is cost effective is to get rid of that and clear up another slot, because you're going to be fighting for slots. There are missions and there are things and gifts and stuff that will give you slots along the way, but that'll be another struggle as you decide what tanks to keep along the way as you start to move through the game. All right, so 30 days. What do I have? I have 4 days of premium. I have bought a tier 4. I need to buy. Have I bought a tier 5? No. The last mission of the missions I can't see anymore because they were the early missions for the game. Unfortunately, I tripped them all and it went away. Was to unlock a tier 5. So I have unlocked a tier 5. I just haven't been able to buy it. The reason being that the next tank here is 373,000 for the Panzer IV-H. Remember, that was the mistake. Quickly, the other mistake I made, watch out for this. I was trying to retrain a commander from the Panzer III-E to the 3J, and unfortunately what I did, you can see him right here, that's the only guy I moved from my tier 4 to my tier 3. And I just got new guys. I really recommend not moving guys from tier 3s to 4s or even 4s to 5s, other than maybe your commander. The commander was another thing that I got out of the training missions, and he comes with 6 cents. So you're going to get one guy with 6 cents. 6 cents is very important in this game. If you're that new and don't understand it, most people do. It lets you know if someone sees you. And then usually when someone sees you, you start to get shot. So it's nice to have. He's the only guy I brought up from the Panzer III-E up to the J because he had 6 cents. And what I wanted to do was just train him to the 3J for 200 gold because I was given 500 from the missions. And I thought, great, I'll have 300 left. And what I did is I reset, unfortunately, I did this. I reset his skills and perks instead of retraining him. So it cost me 400 to do that. So really what you want to do is go to this tab, and then you want to retrain him into a different vehicle. I'm not going to do it. There's the gold right there. It's 200 gold. There are weekends sometimes when you can do it for 100, but if you're just starting, you may not be on that kind of timing right there. The last thing I will say about this commander is, unfortunately, and you'll notice that mine has recon. The only benefit of me blowing it and spending 200 gold incorrectly by resetting my skills and perks is I got rid of camo. Because for some reason the game forces you to take camo as part of the training system, and your entire bloody crew in the 3E, are they still there? There they are. They all have that skill that was given to them because I had to pick it. That's a little bit irritating. So at least I got to reset it to something else important, in this case recon, being way more important at this point for this tank than camo. So that's the crew that I got as I started to train and learn the game. I left these 4 here. I'll just get another commander at some point when I have 20,000, and I may still play the E, potentially for credit grinding. It's not a bad tank. The 3J is actually pretty good. All right, so I think that's what I want to talk there. Strategery, we covered that. I gave you the 2 mistakes I made. This one was okay. I mean, I will play the 3J because I'm also going to be grinding credits and get to the 3001H, and then that splits off into all these goodies. I will eventually get to a scout, I will eventually get to a TD, and I will eventually get to an SPG, PUI, mostly for the missions. For the campaigns, and that's the word I couldn't think of, the Stug campaign is the first one you're probably going to want to do. It's split into lights, mediums, heavies, TDs, and SPGs, hence the reason I'm going to go into all 5 of those at some point. And you can only start the mission when you have one of the tanks. So when you come over here, I happen to have a tier 6, by the way. It has to be, I'm sorry, tier 4 for this, tier 4 and above. I happen to have one, a medium, so I can click on that, and I can click down here. It's not here because I already started it, but it's active. So if you hover over it, down at the bottom of that, it says active. That's the active one. If you want to change it, I could go here, and I could click start. It's going to say, do you really want to? I'm going to say cancel because I don't want to. But if you had some of it done, you may lose your progress on that if you want to switch around. So what I need to do first is be in the top 10 players by experience, cause damage, and win. And then and for honors, I survive. That means I get 50,000 credits and 25,000 credits. These early Stug missions are pretty easy, even for a brand new player. And you're going to knock a lot of these out. You're going to get goodies like silver. It looks like all these might be silver. Are they all silver initially? Yeah. At least the Stug one appears to be mostly extra silver, which is, you're going to be silver poor, so you're going to like that quite a bit. So that may change your strategery as far as, hey, I want to work I want to work 5 things. I want to get a scout line, I want to get a medium line, I want to get a heavy line, and that's all fine. But remember, now you're spreading out, and if the slow grind's going on, you may get a little frustrated and it may be a little bit slow. I would initially aim at 1, 2, or 3 lines, maybe 2 different classes, and get your wheels turning and figuring that out. Okay, equipment. You'll see that I have a camouflage net, which was given to me as one of the prizes, and on this tank, where did I put it? I put it on the 3045M. I have my improved hardening. Those are the 2 things you're going to get out of the training missions. Remember, or if you don't know, to get it off the tank, you're going to have to either pay 10 gold or have a demount kit. I have none right now. I think I got one somewhere as part of one of the prizes, so it's going to cost me 10 gold. That is a good thing to hold. That 500 gold you got, that's a good thing to hold that 500 gold on. If I would not use your 500 gold on retraining a guy like I did. Maybe that first commander, like I said, moving him to the next tank, maybe, because he's got 6 cents, that's going to cost you 200 gold. Maybe that's a good idea for the brand new guys. The rest of it, I would hold on for things like this. You are going to be equipment poor. It is pretty expensive, although not too bad, as you're grinding credits. So it'd be nice to have a full kit out here of equipment, but that's going to cost a lot of silver. Eventually you're going to want to get there, and you're going to want to move equipment around to the tanks that you're using as you go, but it's early on. You're just going to have to deal with the fact that you don't have it. You don't have it all. I'm not using really any gold rounds. That's going to cost you. So at least up to about tier 6, probably not going to hurt you too much. Past tier 6 and above, you're going to want to think about carrying gold. We can talk about that at some other time. Kits wise, I'm using small kits. I had quite a few of these in the garage. Right now I've got 9, 9, and 2 of the large stuff. I'm just burning through my small stuff first, but make sure you've got kits on there. I recommend for new players, small repair kit, first aid, and a fire extinguisher. Don't use food, especially if you're a free player. Don't use anything else, in my opinion, other than these 3. Directives I don't have any of. Interestingly, there were no free directives given, which I didn't quite understand. That's not really shown in the training, and none of the prizes I've run into have given me directives, so that was kind of surprising, to be honest. Remember, for you older guys, if we get down to some of the lower tiers, there's less slots, and that's to stop seal clubbing. All right, guys, I hope that was a good overview for you guys on where I am and some tips and tricks on what to do. Last thing I'll say, EU server, 30 battles. I can't really make any big calls. I will say there were a lot of seal clubbers, but I find that on the NA as well. Guys with 60,000 battles and 5,000 in a tier 2 or 3. Ran into them. Panzer 1C platoons of 3 of those running around. Hey, it's just something you're going to have to deal with. Try to give them a bloody nose and move on. All that good stuff. That's all I've got for today, man. I'm going to keep on the march. I need to get 250 battles so that I can start to post on the EU forums and start advertising and do all that. So I'll be in and out of the EU, playing the EU free-to-play account. Yeah, I'm running about 120 ping. That's a little bit painful, not too bad. Sometimes it spikes to 200, and that's where it gets real painful, but not too bad. It's actually working out for me down here in Florida, reaching all the way to, I think, Amsterdam or some such thing. The modern world, my friends, it is crazy. It is crazy stuff. All right, that's it for this. I'll keep updates on the new player experience right there. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw that down below as far as new player stuff, and I'll be happy to answer it or maybe incorporate it into another video. That's all I've got for today. We will see ya.